DeMar DeRozan now joins that team in Sacramento with the Kings. De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, Devin Carter, who they drafted early, Keegan Murray as well. A Kings team, DRS, that has been a playoff contender.
Is it going to equate to a championship? Probably not. But that's not the goal. Make your team better every offseason. The Kings definitely got better with that move here, Ben.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Where are you at in terms of a starting lineup? What you want to see from Team USA?
I think he'll get guys involved, and then there's your lockdown defender at the point guard, the point of attack, right? I do like Curry. I would then go with Ant. I like Ant over Booker. I think if you look at the way the Canada game was, they looked kind of slow starting, and then they kind of got rolling.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
He talked about Major League Baseball and its rule, or actually its relationship with sports betting and gambling.
Integrity is the foremost concern, and a lot of people are questioning that given all the scandals, right? There's Mercano, there's Pat Hoberg, one of the best umpires in MLB, suspended right now. We don't exactly know what he did, but he's been disciplined, and he hasn't umpired a game this year.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
If this wind, like we have out of the Northwest, was here all week, it would be insane watching these guys play. And if it's going to be a southwest wind, which makes it a little easier as far as the direction of the wind, and the guys will have it a little bit of a break on the back nine. But it is such a fun golf course, one that I really do think tests every single aspect of your game.
Only on SportsGrid.
Hello and welcome to a Wednesday Live right here on the Early Line on SportsGrid and all across the SportsGrid network. That includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination and consume everything all across the grid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. We are here together for the next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern Time. The Olympics, although the opening ceremonies are on Friday, officially underway with some footy on the pitch today over in France, in Paris. The Summer Olympic Games officially underway as of this Wednesday. We'll look back on a full Tuesday slate around Major League Baseball, a historic day in the history of MLB because it was Skeens Day number 12. The Subway Series continues between the Mets and the Yankees. Plenty to dive into around MLB and DRS as of this Wednesday afternoon. All 32 NFL teams will have reported for training camp, but with some contract issues around the National Football League, all the teams are there, but are all the players? That's what we'll break down over these 3 hours live right here on SportsGrid.
Most people want to get on that plane, Ben, and head out to wine country out there in California and enjoy themselves for a little rest and relaxation. It's not the Cowboys, and that's certainly not CeeDee Lamb, so you are correct. We got some interesting spots to watch on people that want to get paid. It's a hump day Wednesday. It's Major League Baseball, full schedule today, afternoon action. You got the Olympics, as Ben pointed out. There's so much going on now. This is the time of the year. We're not even into August yet, and I'm loving it right now.
DRS, I'm not going to get mad at you for saying the Cowboys fly out to wine country, but Oxnard, California is not exactly wine country.
It's
I won't hold it
baby.
against
Boone's
my
Farm.
South Jersey and Philadelphia native. So much to get to, though, nonetheless. Let's start with Major League Baseball. Skeens Day number 12. That's XII in the history of Major League Baseball. And for the first time in his MLB career, Skeens suffers a loss, but not because of a bad pitching performance. Skeens goes well into the ninth inning, 104 pitches, but the Cardinals get the best of Paul Skeens. An RBI single off of Skeens in the top of the ninth, and the Redbirds take it 2-1 over Paul Skeens and the Pittsburgh Pirates. It was Alec Burleson delivering that RBI single, the game winner in the top half of the ninth inning. But all things told, 8 1/3 out of Skeens. Again, 104 pitches. Only allowed 4 hits and 2 earned runs while striking out 8, going over his K-prop once again. They're letting Paul Skeens pitch deep into games, albeit in a losing effort.
Yeah, that's a shame because that's a wasted effort. I mean, get the guy some offense here. 3 runs would have been more than enough to do that yesterday. But also, we did have the pitching ninja on the program yesterday and did have a boost at the FanDuel Sportsbook that said, hey, give me 8 or more strikeouts at a plus 150 price. Cashed that ticket yesterday.
Yeah.
Skeens was great. Just didn't get the W yesterday. But when you're looking overall with those odds to win the Cy Young, which we're going to preview a little bit later, that shouldn't hurt him at all, taking the loss yesterday.
Yeah, it should not whatsoever. The Pirates actually had more base knocks, 7, than that of St. Louis. Only 4. It was a Nolan Arenado home run in the 5th inning, the only other scoring for St. Louis. 2-1 the victory for the Cards yesterday. The Buccos won the opener against their divisional foes, 2-1 inside PNC Park on Monday evening. Subway Series continues, but this time in the Bronx for the first of a 2-game set this week between the Yankees and the Mets. But in all 3 games now this year, the Amazons stand on top of their inner city rivals. 3-2 the victory yesterday for the New York Mets. They walk Aaron Judge 4 times, the 4th and final time, an intentional pass, and the Yankees unable to take advantage. 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position as the Mets win all 3 games so far this year against the Yankees. They take the season series, an opportunity for a season series sweep in 4 games over the Pinstripes today. Jeff McNeil, 2-run blast as well to really help the Mets in their scoring.
Yeah, good win for the Mets, bad loss for the Yankees, but also I've been telling you about this. It's Soto, it's Judge, and really nobody else in that lineup. If we're going to get the Barry Bonds treatment here now on Aaron Judge, you need the guys behind him to absolutely step up, because if they don't, everybody's just going to walk Aaron Judge and laugh at those guys from 4 through 9 in that order. That can't happen. Like, honestly, you can't get that many free passes and not make a team pay for it. That's painful yesterday, the way the Yankees lost, where you take the bat out of your best player's hands and nobody can pick him up.
Gleyber Torres, a solo shot for New York, that being the Yankees that got the scoring started in the 2nd. Alex Verdugo, an RBI in the 6th, but the Mets really outpaced them yesterday. Jeff McNeil again, that 2-run bomb. The Mets looking pretty good, a hefty underdog yesterday in the Bronx inside Yankee Stadium. Mike Trout trying to make his way back to Major League Baseball, but he left his first rehab game after only 2 innings of work, dealing with a sore knee. Not great for the Halos that have taken the first 2 games of their midweek set against the Seattle Mariners. Is it really an injury for Mike Trout, or are they trying to shelve him until they can trade him next week at the trade deadline?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you probably wanted to bring him back, to showcase him, bring him back to Major League Baseball, as if he's healthy, to try to trade him. Now, what are you going to do? Buy out 90% of his salary, where he's owed a ton of money just to move him here? It's kind of crazy. And I thought it was like an Onion article when I woke up and saw that Mike Trout again had to leave the game with. I said, what is going on at this point? Like, he didn't even do anything yesterday. That's a shame, man, because we were looking forward to him getting back into baseball, but also the threat of him going to a contender would have been so much fun to watch. But now it looks like that might be up in smoke after 1 at-bat and 1 inning.
Yeah, not great for Mike Trout or the Halos. NFL news with training camp fully underway as of this Wednesday afternoon for all 32 NFL clubs around the league. The final 4 teams to report on this day, July 24th, the Falcons, the Cowboys, the Colts, and the Steelers. But for the Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb is not going to be there, entering the 5th and final year of his rookie deal, looking for that large contract extension like we saw with Justin Jefferson earlier this offseason. It is yet to happen for Dallas, and CeeDee Lamb is officially holding out from training camp.
He will get paid. He's going to get an extension. They're not going to sit him out. As Jerry Jones said, they're all in this offseason. Had one of the worst offseasons you can possibly have. Now, understand this. Let's just say CeeDee Lamb doesn't get paid this year and agrees to come back to camp and plays this year. Are you telling me the Dallas Cowboys next season are going to reset the market for 3 different players? Dak, the highest paid quarterback of all time, an outside linebacker, the highest paid player of all time, and a wide receiver, the highest paid player of all time? What is Dallas doing? Horrendous management across the board.
A lot of outstanding bills for Jerry Jones to pay. CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott in line under the final year of his contract for a new big QB salary, and Micah Parsons, as DRS mentioned, after his third year this year in the National Football League. The Cowboys now tied for the fourth best price to win the NFC at 8-1. Their price earlier this offseason, plus 600. There was maybe a fear that Matthew Stafford was going to sit out training camp for the Rams, but they rework his contract for this season. A few more guarantees, the veteran signal caller there in Los Angeles.
How about that? Keeping your good players happy before the season starts. It's a miracle that some franchises actually like to take care of the players that take care of them. Good for the Rams. If he wanted a little bit more money, give it to him. And they did. You can afford it. One of the richest owners in sports here. I love what the Rams are doing. Can't stand what the Cowboys are doing.
Yeah, the Cowboys are bungling this all up. The Rams trying to get back to the playoffs for a second consecutive year. The Minnesota Vikings pay the anchor of their O-line, their left tackle, Christian Darrisaw, 4-year, $113 million extension for their blindside blocker.
Exactly. Get the guys taken care of before camp. Now you're ready to go into a season with the vibes are high. Love to see it. Take care of your players, Ben, once again.
The only tune-up for Team USA women's basketball after the All-Star game in Phoenix in the defeat to Team WNBA, the Americans handled Germany 84-57. That's probably the picture of what Team USA is going to do in its hunt for an 8th consecutive gold medal. Asia Wilson, doesn't matter if it's international or WNBA basketball, 19 points, 14 boards. MLB recaps next.
Where are you at in terms of a starting lineup, what you want to see from Team USA?
I think he'll get guys involved, and then there's your lockdown defender at the point guard, the point of attack, right? I do like Curry. I would then go with Ant. I like Ant over Booker. I think if you look at the way the Canada game was, they looked kind of slow starting, and then they kind of got rolling.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
The staple of consistency within the AFC North, that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. 17 years under Mike Tomlin, never a losing record, never less than 8 wins.
You add Patrick Queen there over from your division rival. You take a look at that offensive line, which does have some question marks, but still a decent wide receiving core that they have, a running game that has Najee Harris, and a quarterback that's been there, done that.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Next up is Tampa, who was very impressive last year with Baker Mayfield, Evans. They hooked up a ton, and they've already shown what they can do, but they're picking this team, the Falcons, over them. Explain that to me.
Baker Mayfield's back. Mike Evans is back. Where a couple years ago, you really wondered if he finished his career as a Buck, but the Bucks wanted him to do that, and he's going to do that. He signed a 2-year deal for about $21 million a year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they've shown they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is one game to lose.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Around Major League Baseball, from a full Tuesday slate in the bigs, we recap for you here bright and early on this Wednesday morning, live on the early line. Skeens Day number 12 in the history of MLB. That's XII in Roman numerals. And for Paul Skeens, he pitched into the 9th inning. 104 pitches yesterday, 8 1/3. It's just that Alec Burleson in the top of the 9th for St. Louis did record an RBI single off of Skeens in a tied game at 1 at the time to give St. Louis the game-winning run. And for Paul Skeens, he suffered his first loss of his MLB career. Now 6-1 with a 1.93 ERA. The Buccos dropped just the fourth game in the 12 starts that Paul Skeens has made, but he wasn't bad, Donnie. St. Louis does win outright, however, as a plus 150 underdog, a total of 7.5. We said keep an eye on the under with Paul Skeens out there getting the start. Does stay well under 7.5.
Yeah, and even if you're looking for different options in this game, Ben, hey, you always take Paul Skeens' first 5 innings. He actually lost the first 5 innings 1-0. So it wasn't as if it's like, man, I should have just went first 5 as opposed to full game, which he lost the full game as well. It's not his fault. You tell any pitcher, go 8 1/3 innings pitch and give up 2 earned runs, you're probably dominating. The reason why you're still pitching in the 9th inning is you probably have a lead of 4 or 5 or 6-2 at that point, which they didn't have. Still 8 strikeouts on the day, no walks. It was a very good performance for him. But as I say this, like, we are going to take a look at those Cy Young odds. Here's the interesting part. It's not so much about Paul Skeens himself. It's that Pirates record. They're 51-50 right now. We're not even into August yet. They're only a game and a half back of that wild card spot. That's the eye to keep it on, because if you're looking at the Pirates and they can hang between 3 and 4 games of that wild card spot, that means Skeens probably is going to be pitching over the final 2 weeks of the season. You're going to need every inning and every strikeout you could possibly get if you want to win that Cy Young. So it's up to the Pittsburgh Pirates to hold up their end of the bargain, as well as Paul Skeens to continue to pitch down the stretch.
Pittsburgh was a minus 178 home money line favorite with Skeens on the mound. As you would expect, Paul Skeens getting a start, and as has been evident, Pittsburgh is going to be a hefty money line favorite. Again, in the 12 starts that Skeens has made, he is a 6-1 record with a 1.93 ERA, but the Buccos have won 8 of the 12 starts from Skeens. They had an opportunity yesterday, DRS, and were heavily favored to do so, to get to 3 games above 500 for the first time since April 17th. Pittsburgh, even in the loss yesterday, has won 9 of its last 12. They were 42-47 after a loss to the Mets on July 7th. They have played a lot better baseball. But Donnie's right. The odds reflecting the changes in the NL Cy Young race because of the mentality out of the Pirates. We're going to let Skeens go. We are going to take the reins off. Not only is he fantastic, it gives our ball club the best opportunity to win games and stay alive in the National League wild card race. Pittsburgh now a game and a half behind the Mets for that third and final spot. But starting with St. Louis, going to the Mets and adding in a couple of teams from the National League West, the Diamondbacks and the Padres, 5 teams right now, Donnie, including Pittsburgh, separated in the final 2 spots for the NL wild card by just 2 games overall.
Yeah, and that's what you got to look at here. And again, the Pittsburgh Pirates being 51-50 at this time of the year, that's fantastic. The fans can buy in. You got a lot of excitement with Paul Skeens, and you have a decent lineup 1 through 9 on a day-to-day basis. But also you have to remind this, to be honest, do you want Skeens to win the Cy Young? Yes, you do. But also, we've seen some historical things already with Skeens, meaning like, hey, you know what? You can have multiple no-hitters already. They pulled him out of those baseball games. So you have to ask yourself a question. You're going to have Skeens under control for years and years and years. You don't want to injure the guy trying to win a Cy Young in his rookie year when you want that next 4 to 5 years. Now, the MO for the Pittsburgh Pirates is, we'll keep him on their contract for 5 to 6 years. Once he gets past his arbitration, we just can't afford him, and we're going to trade him. But having said that, are you going to be selfish? Is it more important to get the Cy Young in a year you can't win anything? Or maybe you say we can catch lightning in a bottle in 2 to 3 years when all these other young players, along with Paul Skeens, start to dominate. That's what you have to weigh. We all want to see him have a chance at the Cy Young, because if you're deserving of that, you should let him go. But business sense, it actually doesn't make sense to let him go after the Cy Young if they're not going to do anything this season.
Yeah, but they are right now at least in contention, just 6 days out from the Major League Baseball trade deadline. Again, Skeens suffering his first loss, 6-1 with a 1.93 ERA, but getting 8 strikeouts in 8 1/3, only allowed 4 hits and 2 earned runs. The eighth start in his last 9. He has recorded at least 8 Ks. His K prop, for whatever reason, was 7.5, and the over had plus money yesterday. Another great outing out of Zach Wheeler, also in that National League Cy Young race. 7 innings of work, scoreless baseball, only allowing 3 hits and striking out 7. Simeon Woods Richardson on the other side for Minnesota, 6 innings of shutout work to start the game for the Twins. We were scoreless into the 9th, in the Phillies' plate 3. Brandon Marsh, an RBI sac fly that scored Bryce Harper. Nick Castellanos adds on with a 2 RBI double. All 3 runs in the game and for Philadelphia coming in the 9th. The Phils even this midweek set at a game apiece with a 3-0 victory over Minnesota.
Yeah, you take the microscope out. You needed to see that good starting pitching performance where Zach Wheeler wasn't like, okay, I'm not going to pitch more than 80 total pitches in this game, regardless of the score. He goes over 100 pitches here and was phenomenal yesterday. But keep in mind, the Phillies offense, which 2 days ago's games, the final 27 batters of that game, they had 1 base hit. And you look at this game where they go all the way through up to the 9th inning without scoring a run, only have 6 total hits here. So it's a good win for the Phillies just as a snapshot, but that offense has to start to perform here. But I think the biggest win overall is it looks like Zach Wheeler's back to being Zach Wheeler with no, stress on that lower back. That's a great sign for the Phillies moving forward also.
And the Phils had lost 5 of their last 7, including the opener to the Twins in Minneapolis on Monday evening by a score of 7-2. So just to get back into the win column was huge. The Atlanta game against the Reds yesterday was rained out and postponed. The Braves held a players-only meeting. Chris Sale was slated to get the start for Atlanta. He entered yesterday as the NL Cy Young favorite, where he remains, but because of some market movement, both on the price of Zach Wheeler, but namely Paul Skeens dropping by $2, the other numbers move. Sale still the favorite, plus 145. Wheeler back by just 35 cents, and Paul Skeens up by $2 to plus 350. Donnie's thoughts on the NL Cy Young race and the Subway Series up next on the early line.
Where are you at in terms of a starting lineup, what you want to see from Team USA?
I think he'll get guys involved, and then there's your lockdown defender at the point guard, the point of attack, right? I do like Curry. I would then go with Ant. I like Ant over Booker. I think if you look at the way the Canada game was, they looked kind of slow starting, and then they kind of got rolling.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
The staple of consistency within the AFC North, that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. 17 years under Mike Tomlin, never a losing record, never less than 8 wins.
You add Patrick Queen there over from your division rival. You take a look at that offensive line, which does have some question marks, but still a decent wide receiving core that they have, a running game that has Najee Harris, and a quarterback that's been there, done that.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Next up is Tampa, who was very impressive last year with Baker Mayfield, Evans. They hooked up a ton, and they've already shown what they can do, but they're picking this team, the Falcons, over them. Explain that to me.
Baker Mayfield's back. Mike Evans is back. Where a couple years ago, you really wondered if he finished his career as a Buck, but the Bucks wanted him to do that, and he's going to do that. He signed a 2-year deal for about $21 million a year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they've shown they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is 1 game to lose.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Market movement in the National League Cy Young odds yesterday, despite Paul Skeens suffering the first loss of his MLB career, and Zach Wheeler was shoving as well for the Phils in Minneapolis. A postponement, a rainout in Atlanta, so Chris Sale, slated to get the start yesterday for the Braves, did not pitch. He remains the favorite at plus 145. but the gap is tightening because of the odds movement drastically on Paul Skeens, a plus 550 price entering the 12th career start for him yesterday, now plus 350. Donnie, is it an overreaction or is it a true picture that Paul Skeens is a legitimate contender for the National League Cy Young Award?
He is a legitimate contender. Now, here's the issue that you're going to run into. And so many times you probably think I'm going down the path as, oh, will Pittsburgh actually bench him at this point late in the season? Let's even forget about at this point. He's been so good, and that rapid ascension from some outlets been 200 to 1 for him to win the Cy Young when he made his MLB debut. Now he's down to plus 350 at the FanDuel Sportsbook. But the one thing that we've known just about every single start is he's been really phenomenal. What is going to happen when it's baseball? It happens to everybody. 4 1/3 innings pitched, 5 earned runs. What happens at that point? What are you going to sort of pull the plug on Skeens and go from plus 350 to plus 750? The reason I bring that up is Chris Sale has pitched the entire length of the season. Zach Wheeler has pitched the entire length of the season. Their statistics are going to look much better in the case of total strikeouts. Now, granted, you're going to also look at metrics like individual games and what is the average per game strikeout margin, which does make sense. But I feel like Paul Skeens doesn't have any room for error where Zach Wheeler and Chris Sale might have because they have many more starts than him overall. Because if, let's just say, Zach Wheeler has a bad start, well, 5 earned runs in that appearance. He can absorb that in his ERA. Paul Skeens technically can't absorb that in his ERA because he doesn't have the innings to cover it here. That's what's most interesting, because if we're on this roller coaster ride that says, hey, Donnie, by the way, Skeens, next time he pitches, let's just say, is going to be in August, and he's been phenomenal all the way through August and September, it's going to be hard to fight him off for the Cy Young. But I just see if he has one mediocre start and one average start, he's going to drop in the standings. So he basically, to me, Ben, has to pitch with perfection all the way through to win the Cy Young.
Yeah, we'll get to more of that a little bit later on. Subway Series yesterday, the opener in the Bronx, but the third of 4 games this year between the Mets and the Yankees. And in all 3, the Amazons have won a 3-2 victory yesterday inside Yankee Stadium as Jeff McNeil hit a 2-run shot in the 6th. That really the difference. Aaron Judge was walked 4 times. The Yankees unable to take advantage. 3 games of the Subway Series so far this season. 2 in Citi Field, 1 yesterday inside Yankee Stadium. All 3 the Mets victorious.
By the way, do you know what's interesting, too? Because we can easily look at this series okay, the Mets win this one. Let's see if the Yankees bounce back and what it means for the season. But let's get deeper into some of the numbers here when you're looking at some betting options. And quite frankly, betting that I like to do, RBI props. You know who's always on a night-to-night basis the best guy to take in that Yankees lineup for RBI props? It's Aaron Judge. But I can imagine betting yesterday, which was Dinger Tuesday at the FanDuel Sportsbook, and saying, you know what? I'm going to take Aaron Judge to go deep in this game and also, double down with an RBI or 2. Watching him just get walked repeatedly throughout that game, that is so painful. And sometimes you have to take a look at some of the best hitters. You're surprised, right? You get into extra innings. Hey, my guy's up. There's a bag free, and there's a guy on second base. They automatically get walked instead of a chance to actually swing the bat and get the RBI and the home run. Just some food for thought here heading down the stretch. Even though Aaron Judge is tremendous, and yes, they will pitch to him, there are going to be some games where you don't even get to swing the bat, and you just lose if you have an RBI prop or a home run prop. Those are some tough pills to swallow.
The Mets have won all 3 games so far in the Subway set. They can have a season series sweep over the Bombers today. They were an underdog yesterday against the Yanks. The Dodgers have won all 5 games since the All-Star break. They entered dropping 8 of 11. Shohei Ohtani, 3 ribbies yesterday as the Dodgers beat the Giants for a second consecutive night. 5 straight wins for L.A., but also 5 straight games for San Francisco shortstop Tyler Fitzgerald of going yard on Dinger Tuesday. Another home run out of Fitzgerald.
Yeah, Ramos with another 2 base hits, but this is fun. This is why the Dodgers are still such a powerhouse. And you look at those statistics here lining up odds-wise on the FanDuel Sportsbook and say, can they win a World Series? When you're getting wins out of guys nobody's basically ever heard of, now granted, if you're a baseball fan, you watch Dodgers baseball, sure you know these guys. But outside the casual fan, it's like, oh, who won last night? Was it Glasnow? Was it Kershaw? No, they're guys that are just pitching up like 5 innings pitched, 1 run for Knack. Come on now. Wait till they make some moves and get those guys off the IL. The Dodgers are a sleeping giant right now. They're going to win a lot of baseball games with Knack on the mound. Wait till they get some real good pitchers on that mound. Phew.
A streak snapped in Kansas City, by the way. Bobby Witt Jr. had it recorded at least 3 base knocks in all 4 games since the All-Star break. Just 1 for 4 yesterday. The Royals did lose. An Olympic primer next.
Where are you at in terms of a starting lineup, what you want to see from Team USA?
I think he'll get guys involved, and then there's your lockdown defender at the point guard, the point of attack, right? I do like Curry. I would then go with Ant. I like Ant over Booker. I think if you look at the way the Canada game was, they looked kind of slow starting, and then they kind of got rolling.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
The staple of consistency within the AFC North, that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. 17 years under Mike Tomlin, never a losing record, never less than 8 wins.
You add Patrick Queen there over from your division rival. You take a look at that offensive line, which does have some question marks, but still a decent wide receiving core that they have, a running game that has Najee Harris, and a quarterback that's been there, done that.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Next up is Tampa, who was very impressive last year with Baker Mayfield, Evans. They hooked up a ton, and they've already shown what they can do, but they're picking this team, the Falcons, over them. Explain that to me.
Baker Mayfield's back. Mike Evans is back. Where a couple years ago, you really wondered if he finished his career as a Buck, but the Bucks wanted him to do that, and he's going to do that. He signed a 2-year deal for about $21 million a year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they've shown they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is one game to lose.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Opening ceremonies under the Eiffel Tower might be on Friday for the 2024 Paris Olympic Games here in these summer months, but Olympic action officially gets started in just about a half an hour over there in France with men's soccer. All 16 clubs that qualified for the Olympics on display today to start Olympic action, and men's rugby in the sevens as well. Donnie, the Olympic primer for everybody to know as we get ready for the Olympiad over in Paris starting today.
By the way, you know what I do like about this, Ben? How about the opening ceremony starting East Coast time at 1:30 p.m. Eastern? That's absolutely phenomenal. By the way, almost 4.5 hours is the opening ceremony. Whew, that is a long haul and a lot of athletes to get through there. But let me ask you this question, because I don't have the answer to this one. Is it like, because the soccer is starting today in the Olympics, it's Wednesday, and we just told you that the opening ceremony is Friday. Is there any events where you are eliminated before the opening ceremony even begins? Like you do something for your nation, you are eliminated, and then you walk in the opening ceremony? Come on, you can't have that.
No, I would guess not, and our producer Joe Frizo says no as well. There are more results and events tomorrow. Women's soccer gets underway, women's handball, more men's rugby, and some archery. My guess would be the opening heats are tomorrow before the opening ceremonies.
Well, wait,
that
what happens
really
if you don't
begin.
advance, though? Like if we got archery on a Thursday, Ben, what happens if like you just don't hit any targets? You advance? You should be eliminated, no?
I have no idea, man. Why don't you bring it up with the IOC?
We got to have more research on this. I figure like we just got a quick little Google sweep over the last 3 seconds. Ranking.
It's the ranking round.
Okay.
So you're ranked where you're set up. I guess Donnie will be really tuned in tomorrow afternoon to some archery and figure out who finishes near the bottom, so they have a very short trip to Paris, France. But the first matches that we have today, Morocco and Argentina in men's soccer, Spain and Uzbekistan. Team USA men's soccer does play later this afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Paris is 6 hours ahead of us, so right now it's 2:34 p.m. local time there over in France. It's not the most drastic hour gap that we have seen in recent Olympics. And this is your Paris primer. where we're answering all of your questions, including those fresh off the mind of Donnie Rightside, but also the FanDuel Sportsbook has a price and a number for virtually everything you could even watch or wager on for the Paris Olympic Games. Again, the opening ceremony on Friday. Some news for the opening ceremony. We told you earlier this week, LeBron James is going to be the men's flag bearer for Team USA. The first time it's ever been a men's basketball player, joining Sue Bird and Don Staley as the only basketball players to ever bear the flag for Team USA in the opening ceremonies. The first tennis player will bear the flag as well for the women's side of things for Team USA on Friday's opening ceremonies. Coco Gauff gets that notable distinction.
Yeah, stars. That's what you want out front, right? You want notable superstars that you already know the back history on. I'm sure they're very proud to have the flag there. And you saw LeBron James. I don't know if it was behind the scenes, but they were filming him in the locker room and showing like what it absolutely meant to him to do that. That is a great honor. Like, you are representing your nation. And if you're the flag bearer, there's a lot of responsibility that goes through that, which means, LeBron, you better hold that flag up and win that Olympic gold medal. Same thing with Coco Gauff. You get a lot more expectations now.
Coco Gauff, not the favorite, though, in women's tennis on clay. That's Iga Swiatek, as we'll talk about in just a moment. But Team USA expected to dominate or at least win in large part at the Paris Olympic Games. The U.S. minus 550 to have the most gold medals. China, the only team with less than a 40-1 price at plus 350. The most medals overall. Team USA a hefty favorite as well at minus 2,000. That should be the expectation each and every time there is a Summer Olympiad, and I expect the United States to deliver.
Yeah, and it's supposed to start early, too, and you see that medal count just get racked up. And also, if I could throw a commissioner of the Olympics hat into the ring,
For
Ben,
sure.
like Team USA basketball, Team USA women's basketball, when they win the gold medal, shouldn't it be like if there's 15 of them, it should be counted as 15 gold medals? I mean, come on now. Spread the wealth out at this point. Maybe one. Come on. It's team sport. You all get it.
So when the Celtics won the Larry O'Brien trophy, that was really 12 NBA championships in total?
No, because you're not handing out medals. It's a championship for the team, but you're handing out individual. If they were, now granted, if they were like, if you win the NBA championship, Ben, and you get medals as opposed to the trophy, you might have an argument on there. But we don't get a trophy for winning the Olympics. You get medals. Like they're hanging 15 medals on these guys. You can't deceive me that way.
For sure. But I think there might only be 12 individuals on the Team USA roster.
I mean, Kerr's going to get one. I mean, come on now. Yeah.
That's fair enough. Unless our guys, Micah Potter and Nigel Hayes, is it now Nigel Hayes Davis? They might head over there as well for all of their work in the exhibition lead-up. Team USA, State of the Union, as Joe Frizo likes to say. The gold medals over-under, 40 and a hook. The total amount of medals, 119 and a half. And as you saw, minus 550 to lead every country with the most gold medals, minus 2,000 to lead every country with the most medals overall. DRS, where do you fall on the idea of finishing silver or bronze? Is it an idea if you ain't first, you're last, or is that still a notable distinction in your mind at the Olympic Games?
No, it is notable, unless you were the decided favorite here. But also hear me out. Like the medal count when you retire from the Olympics. Like, let's just say you go to more than one Olympiad. It's, let's just say I had 2 golds and 1 silver. Like that's a nice accomplishment there. Even if you're just saying like I had 1 silver, like or 1 bronze, that's really cool just to get a medal. But I think if you can get at least 1 gold medal, like 1 gold, 2 silver, and 3 bronze, if you had a couple, Olympiads that you went to, I think that's a really cool accomplishment there. Like, hey, I got 1 of each at that point. But individually, just to get a medal, that's got to be one of the coolest things, man, to bring home and hang on the mantle, though, regardless if it's a gold medal, silver, or bronze.
Could not agree more. I think it's such a cool thing. And for a lot, there is star power of notable either national American athletes or international athletes that we see in professional events. But for a lot of these individuals that are over there at the Olympic Games, just being at the Olympic Games is the distinction and the noteworthiness of their lifetime. It is an honor to represent your country and to compete at the most elite and highest level. So just to be there, to even be in the ranking round for archery is a super, super cool thing. Now, in terms of those teams, for Team USA, men's basketball in the hunt for a 5th consecutive gold, minus 400. Women's basketball, a heavy favorite to win an 8th straight gold medal at minus 3,500. Men's soccer, not nearly as favorable at 24-1, but with a plus in front. Team USA women's soccer, the favorites at the Olympics. How about some volleyball? Plus 750 and plus 650 as well.
Yeah, by the way, the interesting one is the men's soccer plus 2,400. Like, we said we can't even compete when the other teams aren't even allowed to bring their best players. That's just a sad state of affairs for the U.S. boys, man. Come on now at this point. If you can't compete when nobody's allowed to bring their best players, what are we actually doing at this point?
Dare I say, we should try to find a loophole or a stipulation where we can have like our number one national team, like Pulisic and Weston McKennie and Gio Reyna, everybody get out there and just go, and then we could win a gold medal in some international competition. Kevin Sullivan, the 14-year-old for the Philadelphia Union, put somebody over there that we know. Men's and individual favorites. Carlos Alcaraz, the short favorite to win on clay. Rafael Nadal might have been had he not lost in the Swedish Open. Women's tennis, Iga Swiatek dominates on clay. Scotty Scheffler, Nelly Korda, the favorites in golf. Sha'Carri Richardson, minus 170 to win the 100-meter as the fastest woman on planet Earth. Katie Ledecky, she's going to dominate in the long-distance swimming events. 1,500-meter, minus 1,800 favorite. More on the early line up next.
Where are you at in terms of a starting lineup, what you want to see from Team USA?
I think he'll get guys involved, and then there's your lockdown defender at the point guard, the point of attack, right? I do like Curry. I would then go with Ant. I like Ant over Booker. I think if you look at the way the Canada game was, they looked kind of slow starting, and then they kind of got rolling.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
The staple of consistency within the AFC North, that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. 17 years under Mike Tomlin, never a losing record, never less than 8 wins.
You add Patrick Queen there over from your division rival. You take a look at that offensive line, which does have some question marks, but still a decent wide receiving core that they have, a running game that has Najee Harris, and a quarterback that's been there, done that.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Next up is Tampa, who was very impressive last year with Baker Mayfield, Evans. They hooked up a ton, and they've already shown what they can do, but they're picking this team, the Falcons, over them. Explain that to me.
Baker Mayfield's back. Mike Evans is back. Where a couple years ago you really wondered if he finished his career as a Buck, but the Bucks wanted him to do that, and he's going to do that. He signed a 2-year deal for about $21 million a year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they've shown they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is one game to lose.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
It feels like football. As of today, all 32 NFL organizations will have shown up for training camp. The Final Four showing up on this Wednesday, July 24th. The Atlanta Falcons, the Indianapolis Colts, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Dallas Cowboys. But when the Cowboys show up to camp in Oxnard, it will be notable for who is also not there. That's CeeDee Lamb, officially holding out from the start of training camp for Dallas. Unable, at least at this stage, to sign a contract extension before the 5th and final year of his rookie deal. CeeDee Lamb, without that big new contract, that fellow first-round pick Justin Jefferson from the 2020 NFL Draft received, is not going to be at training camp, at least at the start. How concerned should Cowboys fans and backers be, DRS, that Lamb is not there?
I don't think they should really be concerned about that because I do think he's going to show up. But more of the concern of, again, the off-season strategy that was laid out by Jerry Jones. I'm not getting any younger. We are all in, and proceeds to do nothing but bungle the salary cap and not pay your best players. Where you can see the players say whatever they want. Now, CeeDee Lamb is taking a completely different approach than like Dak Prescott. Like Dak's like, you know what? I played down this route. The longer we wait, the more money I'm going to make. I'm fine with that. I'm a quarterback. I'm probably not going to have a career-ending injury. But for guys looking to strike gold like CeeDee Lamb, where so many wide receivers are doing that, I just can't understand what the Dallas Cowboys philosophy is. Because when you see Dak say, I'm fine with it, and even if any player says that, deep down, like, look, I just want what I'm worth. Like, give me the financial security and let me go into the season just focused on football itself. I don't want to get calls from my agent midweek saying, hey, here's the latest offer coming back. What do you think about this? I want to focus on game plan. I want to be with the boys out there. Like, I want to play football and don't have to worry about my financial constraints at this point. And this is what they're doing. Like, CeeDee Lamb, not sure. Like, is anybody in the right mind believe, like right now, like, what's CeeDee Lamb asking for? He wants to be paid like Justin Jefferson. Oh, you can't pay him, then let him sit out. Like, no, again, just the way the NFL financials work. It's the next man in line who's a really good football player is going to get that big paycheck. And I have no idea what they're doing in Dallas because theoretically, Ben, 3 guys that I said, let's just say nobody gets paid this year. They're all going to reset the market. You won't have enough money left over to pay the rest of your football team. But if you're paying these guys as you go and limiting the damage and saving yourself money, and also, how many times do we see this? Hey, Dak's worth $60 million against the cap here. Well, if you just restructured him and gave him a new contract, he'd be down to $10 million against the cap. CeeDee Lamb is going to count, what, $18 million against the cap. If you gave him $100 million in guarantees, he probably would count half of his cap number of what it is now. I have no idea what Jerry Jones is doing. CeeDee Lamb should be paid top dollar and be in camp and ready to go for this football season.
Absolutely so. Donnie is spot on how it has reached this stage and what could be on the other side of it all for the Cowboys is atrocious. CeeDee Lamb has every right to try to bargain for as many millions of dollars as Justin Jefferson. CeeDee Lamb is one of the 5 or 10 best wide receivers in all of the National Football League. CeeDee Lamb, like Jay Jett, was a first-round selection back in 2020, so he will be playing under the 5th and final year of his contract. There are 4 wide receivers currently that are set to make $30 million on an annual average basis starting this year. Justin Jefferson, the most of them all, the most ever in the history of the NFL for a non-quarterback at $35 million. A.J. Brown, a little bit more than $32 million. Amon-Ra St. Brown, more than 30, and Tyreek Hill at $30 million as well. CeeDee Lamb is somewhere in the middle of that group, at least being paid as one of the 5 highest paid wide receivers in the National Football League, but it has not happened at this moment. You'll see the numbers for CeeDee Lamb and what he has done in his first 4 years in the National Football League. They're outstanding and justified in terms of demanding that new contract. But Donnie, here's why I'm concerned if I'm a Cowboys fan. We are trying to win, finally, to get past the divisional round, to even compete in an NFC title game. We do not need any off-the-field distractions in what should only be a hopeful and optimistic time. Because not only are you going to have to pay CeeDee Lamb, you have to pay Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons on the horizon at the end of this year, and you might be playing this season with your quarterback Dak, your top wide receiver CeeDee, and your head coach Mike McCarthy in the final year of their contract where they might not be coming back at the end of 2024. Uncertain times for the Cowboys.
Exactly. And when you're on the field, you want to give it your all. Like, there's never really a time that NFL players technically are going to shut it down on the field themselves, but they can shut everything else down. And the reason I bring that up is if you're playing, like, Dak knows he's going to get probably $55+ million the minute he signs a new contract with the Cowboys or without the Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb knows, like, if this season goes and, hey, I got a little hamstring injury in week 3. Hey, if I shut this down, I'm going to be paid more money than any wide receiver in football next year. You take a look at Micah Parsons, who's actually playing the quarterback quarterback role, like, you know what? I'm not even going to be hostile this year because I know next year you're going to pay me probably what the Dallas Cowboys are worth because that's what edge rushers go for at this point here. I just don't understand how it got to this point. It's terrible strategy. And also, when you see the rest of the league, and it's not as if you're operating like the Cincinnati Bengals, second smallest market or revenue team in the NFL. It's the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. They're worth more money than any franchise, not in the NFL, not in the United States, but in the world. What are we doing? And also, Jerry Jones isn't 31 years old going like, I got 60 more years on this planet to win a Super Bowl. I don't know what he's waiting for at this point.
The Cowboys have moved back in the market for whatever reasons, but a bad offseason at 8-1, tied for the fourth best price in the NFC. At an earlier point this offseason, they were plus 600, only behind the Niners and the Lions. They were the favorites to win the NFC East. The Eagles now in front of Dallas in both of those categories. 1,749 receiving yards for CeeDee Lamb in the 2023 NFL campaign. Second most in all of the NFL, only behind Tyreek Hill, and 12 receiving touchdowns as well. Pay the guy. It's as simple as that. But until that happens for Jerry Jones, CeeDee Lamb will not be in training camp in wine country in California, in Oxnard, California. We'll talk some more training camp as it is the final day of report day around the National Football League and what the Patriots are doing to start the post-Belichick era in Foxborough. Who's going to be the starting quarterback? We'll break it down for you up next.
Where are you at in terms of a starting lineup, what you want to see from Team USA?
I think he'll get guys involved, and then there's your lockdown defender at the point guard, the point of attack, right? I do like Curry. I would then go with Ant. I like Ant over Booker. I think if you look at the way the Canada game was, they looked kind of slow starting, and then they kind of got rolling.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
The staple of consistency within the AFC North, that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. 17 years under Mike Tomlin, never a losing record, never less than 8 wins.
You add Patrick Queen there over from your division rival. You take a look at that offensive line, which does have some question marks, but still a decent wide receiving core that they have, a running game that has Najee Harris, and a quarterback that's been there, done that.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Next up is Tampa, who was very impressive last year with Baker Mayfield, Evans. They hooked up a ton, and they've already shown what they can do, but they're picking this team, the Falcons, over them. Explain that to me.
Baker Mayfield's back. Mike Evans is back. Where a couple years ago, you really wondered if he finished his career as a Buck, but the Bucks wanted him to do that, and he's going to do that. He signed a 2-year deal for about $21 million a year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they showed they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is one game to lose.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Training camp around the National Football League officially underway. It is the post-Belichick era in Foxborough. Gerard Mayo takes over as a rookie head coach for the Patriots. Will a rookie quarterback in Drake May, the third overall pick by New England in the 2024 NFL Draft, be the starter from week 1? That does not seem to be the case for the Patriots, at least here at this point entering training camp. Rod Mayo saying this yesterday to media, quote, coming out of spring, I think it's clear Jacoby is the most pro-ready guy we have. Jacoby Brissett, who spent one season in New England and the many stops that he has made around the National Football League prior, back in New England, and is the starting quarterback as of this moment for the Pats. DRS, when week number 1 comes for New England, who do you think is under center to begin? Jacoby Brissett or Drake May?
Usually I'd say to myself, where did you draft that quarterback at? Oh, you drafted him top 5. I don't care what your team looks like or what your schedule looks like. You better have him out there. But then I take a deep breath and say, and I love to say this, and I'm sure everybody outside of New England loves it as well. Boy, isn't it nice that New England is one of the trash can teams of the NFL. 4 wins last year, team total light this year, and we're talking about coming into this year with Jacoby Brissett as my starting quarterback and absolutely no weapons. This team is going to stink out loud. So when we talk about unders, gameplay, yes, unders, because they won't be able to score many points. Team totals, probably looking at unders at this point, and it is an incredibly low number. But the fact that for 25 plus years it felt like New England was on the top of the pantheon here in the NFL, the top of the mountain, always fighting for championships. Now the absolute bottom of the basement barrel, horrendous football team. I think we can all enjoy this now.
4.5. The win total for New England. Sure, the over has a little bit of the juice, but it is the lowest win total in all of the National Football League. The Patriots have the longest price in virtually everything. They have the longest price to win the AFC. Somehow just the second longest number to win Super Bowl 59. Behind or in front, I guess you could say, of Carolina. But the Panthers' win total is 5.5. They play in the weaker conference, and the over is juiced for the Panthers. New England is going to struggle. Again, like you, Donnie, I would say the era of a first-round quarterback pick, sitting on the bench, learning the ropes of the NFL behind a veteran, is long gone, especially if you're drafted in the top 15, the top 10, the top 5, the top 3. But for Drake May's case, let him sit. Don't put him out there to take the lumps on the fly and to have the fingers of blame pointed at him. The Patriots, not only the worst win total in the NFL, the second hardest schedule, according to our guy Warren Sharp and his team at Sharp Football Analytics. DRS, I've got a feeling that back in the mid-'90s, during your football playing days, there was a time that head was buzzed and the hair was bleached blonde. To be an Eminem guy, to be a Slim Shady guy, like Joe Burrow reporting to camp yesterday for Cincinnati.
Yes, and by the way, there was a time that also the short hair out there, the earrings in the ear. You had to take out the hoop earrings, Ben, before he went out to football practices. That was a kid. He couldn't lose any of the type of jewelry out on the field. But I understand Joe Burrow with that look. I don't know if I like it or don't like it at this point, but the one thing I do know is, hey, Joe Burrow, showing up to training camp. Why don't you support your wide receivers? I'm one of the wide receivers. Oh. Look, I get a pension each and every year for being a quality wide receiver. So I'm in the wide receiver union at this point, and I think we need to overthrow Joe Burrow. He's not looking out. He's not looking out for wide receivers. So I don't know if I can get down with the haircut or even his look at this point until he changes face.
Did not meet with the media yesterday on report day for the Bengals. Maybe today after their opening practice. We shall see. Guy's got time to buzz his hair and bleach it blonde, but can't stand up for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. That's a Donnie bit. It is not mine. We only have a minute here until we get to our second hour. We'll have more time talking NFL stuff in hour number 2. But per the McNairs, the owners of the Houston Texans, there's a chance the NRG Stadium roof won't be fixed until a month into the season. His name's Bob McNair, right? The guy on the left wearing the hat and the mustache?
Yeah.
Never has a man benefited from money so much to earn the love of a spouse, as you will see in that photo right there.
And let me just get to, again, I don't understand. Apparently in the state of Texas, I don't think Texas doesn't have high school football, correct, right, Ben? That it's too hot out, particularly in the fall month. Yeah, exactly. They don't play probably any baseball at all, I would assume, too. And so at this point, the fact that it's a big deal that the stadium, which, again, why is it even retractable? Can somebody help me out with that? If it's so hot down there, why did you waste hundreds of millions of dollars in taxpayer money on a retractable roof? Open the stadium. It's what you play in. You play in elements here. Oh, no, it's 90 degrees. We can't play. What are we doing in Houston? Weakest fan base out there.
Hour 2 up next.